This city is too small for us, Dunk. I never got nothing by waiting around. You want a family? Go out there. Get a family.
Sir Alan taught me sword and shield. Away from castles and servants.
Someone will remember him. He spoke of his time in your service as his very finest.
I know him not, man.
This is undignified, sir.
No! Goose eggs, like goose eggs.
You must think me a fool.
All men are fools.
Hedge Knight, will you heed my call to war?
All men are knights.
Shut up.
After the tournament, I can stay in as your squire. Come on!
If I lose my first joust, I'll scarcely be a knight.
But if you win,
Mind your pride, Sir Duncan. There are princes about.
he's touching her!
Duncan, no!
It is never wise to strike a king's grandson. I have no choice. Trial by combat must be held at dawn.
That means battle axes and lances of war.
I know what it means.
I always knew you meant trouble.
Come out, little knight. It's time you face the dragon.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my Night of the Seven Kingdoms Episode 2 trailer video. There's also footage from a number of other future episodes after this, too. They're calling this like the Weeks Ahead trailer, but we'll mostly do this as an Episode 2 Easter egg video. There are a number of different big references to the books that this is based on, The Tales of Duncan Egg, The Hedge Knight 2. We also get our first look at a Blackfyre Rebellion flashback. For those of you that have wanted to see the Blackfyre Rebellions on TV show or do it as a full TV show, we at least get a little bit of that for the first time. There have always been a lot of questions about why they don't just do a Blackfyre Rebellions TV show. There are a couple reasons, but they might wind up doing a lot of it during flashbacks in future seasons of this show. If you are brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos, because this is just the beginning. Reminder that House of the Dragon Season 3 episodes obviously takes place early in the timeline, but it's also happening later this year. We'll get more episodes later this year, 2 Game of Thrones series in the same year. We are finally eating good in 2026. Now all you gotta do, HBO, is just do that every single year.
You hungry? Always.
The actual title of Episode 2 is Hard Salted Beef, which I believe is meant to be a reference to a passage that Dunk has when he's talking to Prince Maekar Targaryen in the book. The actual line that they speak to each other actually comes from the end of the story, from the end of A Hedge Knight, after all the WTF stuff has gone down, all the big reveals have been made. Prince Maekar gives Dunk an incredulous look, saying, "Did the trial addle your wits, man?" Talking about the trial of 7. Aegon is a prince of the realm, the blood of the dragon. Princes are not made for sleeping in ditches and eating hard salted beef, as in the title of the episode. He saw Dunk hesitate. Maekar saw Dunk hesitate. "What is it you're afraid to tell me? Say what you will, sir." Dunk then replies to Maekar, saying Daeron never slept in a ditch. Daeron the drunken that we saw in episode 1. And all the beef that Aegon ever ate was thick and rare and bloody, like as not. Meaning the idea of eating hard-salted beef and sleeping in a ditch might be good for a character on the show that they haven't fully revealed yet. We can't really get too deep into that, but it sounds like they'll make that reveal by the end of episode 2. The whole idea in the title in the passage is that eating hard-salted beef and sleeping in ditches will actually be good for a future leader of Westeros, somebody who's going to eventually become king someday. It's all about the positive influence of Dunk on this other person. We will talk more about this in my Easter egg video, assuming that they do make the reveal by the end of episode 2. But just starting at the beginning of the trailer footage and working our way through shot by shot, talking about Easter eggs, WTF moments, the entire beginning of the trailer here is a flashback to show young Dunk in King's Landing in Flea Bottom, basically just trying to survive. Notice you see him living in what looks like the sewer area here, like this, the dirtiest possible area, sneaking around, just trying to grab things that he can sell for money. When the girl says, "This city is too small for us, Duncan," then you see her talking to him about going to find his family, like, "I never got anything by waiting around." That actually might be his mother. George R. R. Martin has never talked a lot about Dunk's mother, but she was a lady of the evening who worked the brothels in King's Landing, as you could imagine, meaning that his father was probably some mystery lord who visited her one night, or some visiting wealthy merchant, basically somebody who had enough coin to pay her for her time. Because she's a brunette and Dunk is more of a blonde, that also, I think, means that he is not part Targaryen either, like he's not secretly a Targaryen bastard in one of the dragon's teeth. There have been a number of theories about who Dunk's father actually is. I do not expect the show to actually reveal that. Maybe there'll be some light references in the background, like some clues that'll give you, but I don't think that George R. R. Martin, who is a co-producer on this, like he co-wrote a lot of this too, would not fully reveal that if he didn't want to, but maybe they'll do that at some point in future books. Then as they walk through the streets of Flea Bottom, we finally transition to our first Blackfyre Rebellion shot. So if it wasn't clear, like you see the Lannister banner in the background here, but this field of bodies after a big battle, and Dunk basically just picking over all the bits, trying to steal anything that they can sell for money, salvage any kind of armor or weapons that they can sell for money. And you notice he is just crying his eyes out like at all this tragedy. This is meant to be around King's Landing, like you can see King's Landing and the Red Keep in the background here, that because he lived in King's Landing, so that's why he's searching around this castle. And the idea is that this is meant to be one of the battles from the Blackfyre Rebellion. The actual first Blackfyre Rebellion takes place just before the events of Episode 1, so the realm is going through this very, very bloody civil war because of the Targaryen family, right after doing it during House of the Dragon and the Dance of the Dragons, two giant civil wars that just absolutely wrecked both the Targaryen family, basically led to the death of all the dragons before the Blackfyre Rebellion, and just completely shattered the rest of the realm too.
And I never knew a joust to change the price of eggs.
This is why during Episode 1, the innkeeper woman said, "I never knew a tourney to change the price of eggs," basically saying that tournaments are not that big of a deal. It's not a big civil war like the Blackfyre Rebellion that we just lived through that destroyed all of us economically and just emotionally. What I might do is a longer video about the Blackfyre Rebellion or the first Blackfyre Rebellion. There's a lot that we can talk about. George R. R. Martin spent a lot of time writing it out in great detail, but there were also multiple Blackfyre Rebellions. The secondary ones, like the second and the third one, take place while Dunk and Egg are running around together. We can talk more about those Easter eggs if they actually do them on the show. We would literally see that happen in future seasons. Love the comp here of young Dunk putting the helm on as a child and then as an adult putting his armor on before the Trial of Seven. This is the new suit of armor that Steely Pate will make for him out of Sir Arlen of Pennytree's armor. Like he has to reforge Sir Arlen's armor with a little bit of money that Dunk has to give him so that it will actually fit him. You remember that was one of the big requirements to actually fight in the tournament at all, like do anything in the tournament, is that you needed an actual suit of armor to wear. But it sounds like his mother tells him to go out and find himself a family, like go out there and make your destiny. She doesn't want him to stay at King's Landing, which is actually a blessing. It's actually some good advice. Then we actually get a combination of more flashbacks from his backstory when he's talking to what seems like Baelor Breakspear, Baelor Targaryen, who is the heir apparent in the realm. He's Daeron II's oldest son right now, so he'll be the next king. So at least when the show picks up, the realm thinks that Baelor is going to be the next king. So it is a very big deal that he is at this tournament of Ashford. He's basically explaining his backstory, and they use the flashbacks to show that as Sir Arlen Pennytree goes to King's Landing and basically takes him as his squire and then drives him away. Like you can see the Red Keep in the background here as they drive away. We get a couple of flashbacks of him teaching him how to use a sword, basically just the tenets of actually being a knight, like slowly teaching him how to actually do all this stuff. We get another scene in present day of Lionel Baratheon partying it up inside his tent just like before, but it's during the day. We see Manfred Dondarrion behind him too, partying in the tent again. We saw him in the tent last night too. When he tells Baelor that he got all these lessons from Sir Arlen away from castles and away from all the trappings of royalty, is basically to set up the idea of what happens at the end of the series in the hard salted beef theme of the episode, the line that he has with Maekar about why that's actually good for somebody who might be king someday, learning some humility, basically growing up, learning about the small folk and caring about them, as opposed to being raised in the traditional manner like a normal Targaryen heir, Targaryen prince might be raised. Then they jump to the next day at the tournament with him and Egg, and him explaining to Egg why he needs to get a lord to vouch for him, and hoping that somebody else, like another great lord or another lord of some kind, will remember Sir Arlen and help him out. These people in green actually look like Tyrells. I don't know if this is Lord Tyrell or just someone lower on the totem pole inside House Tyrell, but there would be Tyrells fighting at this tournament here. As expected, they either don't remember Sir Arlen, or they don't care to remember him, or they don't want to have anything to do with Dunk, and basically tell him to get the hell out of here. Just another example of lords being terrible people in Westeros.
No, I'm not, man.
This is undignified, sir.
We'll get a lot more of this. You see the entire spectrum at the tourney here that Dunk encounters, both terrible lords and very good lords, like the best of Westeros and the worst of Westeros at the same time, not just bad Targaryens and good Targaryens. There's that old book line, when the Targaryen is born, the gods flip a coin. We see both ends of that spectrum at the tournament here, also with the other lords too. We get a couple more scenes of him running into Tanzelle Tutal around the tournament before her puppet shows. Like, she does a number of different puppet shows during the actual series. Some of the stories that she tells during them are actually famous stories that George R. Martin wrote out in other books, so we'll talk about them and what the plays actually mean when we actually see them in episodes. But you can kind of see how she's basically like his love interest, and he's just trying to curry her favor, just being an idiot like you would expect, just having a little bit of fun. We get a lot more of Lionel Baratheon during this trailer, just cozying up to Dunk. Love it when he says, "Will you heed my call to war, Hedge Knight?" This is also meant to give you echoes, like vibes of Robert's Rebellion eventually. There'll probably be some light Easter eggs in the background for that too, but just to explain how Lionel Baratheon is related to Robert Baratheon. Robert Baratheon is the grandson of Lionel's successor at Storm's End, who was named Ormund Baratheon, but George R. Martin never recorded Lionel as having a biological son, so it's not clear if the show is going to make Ormund Baratheon his eventual son, or just like a distant cousin in the family that he winds up passing the title to, because Lionel Baratheon in the books, according to George R. Martin, is only recorded as having a daughter, and that daughter did not inherit Storm's End. So at least right now, it seems like Robert Baratheon at best is Lionel Baratheon's distant cousin, until the show clarifies this in future seasons, because we might see older versions of the characters if they do wind up doing season 6, season 7, because there are big time jumps between all the seasons, and George R. Martin has claimed that he's written all these other future stories that take them to the ends of their lives. Also really relevant, House Baratheon was created by Aegon the Conqueror after the conquest long time ago, when he made his bastard half-brother Ormund Baratheon a lord and gave him Storm's End, naming him Ormund Baratheon. So if you think about it, technically the Baratheons, House Baratheon, are also Targaryens, but by the events of the show, their blood has been diluted enough that they don't have enough Valyrian blood in their veins to actually ride dragons. So like Lionel Baratheon, if there was a dragon, could not claim that dragon. But during this period, during 9 of the 7 Kingdoms, all the dragons have died off. They will not return for almost 90 years when Daenerys' dragon eggs hatch. But in the context of the show, his call to war is obviously the tug of war as they're playing here at the tournament with all the other lords and the other squires. This is also why Egg is part of the tug of war, because all the squires are here too. Also love the visual metaphor of the tug of war being a little bit like a comp to Civil War, as in both the Blackfyre Rebellion, the Dance of the Dragons, as well as Robert's Rebellion eventually later in the timeline. They really do want you thinking about Robert's Rebellion, with all this Lionel Baratheon being mad at the Targaryens wanted to stick it to them during the show. We'll see more of that during episode 2 and beyond that too. This is also why you see him very interested in Dunk when he learns about the Trial of 7, like, you're way more interesting than I thought you were.
I always knew you meant trouble.
You have to remember that Lionel Baratheon is one of the most powerful lords in the realm, next to House Targaryen in the royal family. He does not hate them right now, like they don't have a terrible relationship, but he does love any opportunity that he has to stick it to them and make them seem like fools, which is provided to him with Dunk in the Trial by 7. He's like, another opportunity to plant a bunch of Targaryens on their butts. This is going to be fun. So they're really just seeding the idea that House Baratheon will eventually rebel against House Targaryen, and it will just culminate with Robert Baratheon later in the timeline. I know everybody would love to see an actual Robert's Rebellion TV show. Maybe at some point HBO will pull the trigger on that. We will see. They would probably do that before they do a full-on reboot of the original Game of Thrones series. Dunk and Egg talk about their future after the tournament. This is before things go real crazy, but Egg likes the idea of becoming his squire and just following him around, so he's just trying to cozy up to him. This is meant to be before Dunk learns his actual secret. But I believe all the footage of Dunk inside his actual visor, his new armor, is from the actual Trial of 7, which is during episode 5, like further episodes. This is in episode 2 stuff. Then we get a scene of Aerion Targaryen assaulting Tanzel Tutal at one of her puppet shows. Notice she's wearing her armor, doing another dragon play, like we saw the armor in the previous episode 1, where she was talking about the knight going after the dragon, trying to kill it. Basically, the idea is that Aerion Targaryen tries to hurt and kill her because of what's happening during her play. As you can see, Dunk then comes to her rescue and basically just knocks him flat on his butt. Then the reason why they drag him in front of the council here, this is Baelor, his brother Maekar, his son Aerion. So you have 3 royal princes here along with Lord Ashford. I don't know who this other 5th one is here, can't quite tell. But the idea is that it's a crime in Westeros to strike a royal prince. So the only options that Dunk has is trial by combat to save his life, or literally they can just cut off the hand that he used to strike Aerion with, or anything that he used to strike Aerion. He also kicks him, so it'd mean that they have to cut off one of his feet too. So either he loses 2 of his limbs, or trial by combat. The reason why he says striking a king's grandson is because his grandfather is Daeron II, who's still the sitting king right now. Baelor here, who is the heir presumptive, is Aerion's uncle. You also notice that Baelor is wearing the pin of the hand of the king, but it's like on the special wrap, like the way that he's wearing the pin is a little bit different now because he's a Targaryen who is the hand of the king. There's a lot of references to trial by combat, but they don't take it as far because all the scenes they show are from the next day when it's actually Trial of 7. That becomes a different thing. They're probably just waiting to actually start talking about that. They just want to tease the idea of trial by combat first. Trial of 7 is basically trial by combat, but with 7 versus 7 on the 2 different teams. We will talk more about that as they actually learn more about that in future episodes. It's actually a pretty big deal. It was a tradition that was brought over by the Andals because they also brought the faith of the 7. Before the Andal invasion, though, trial by combat already did exist amongst the First Men. So, like, trial by combat has been around as long as the realm has been around. The person that says, come out, little knight, is Aerion Targaryen. When he says it's time you face the dragon, that's also a reference to Daeron the Drunken's dragon dream that he has when he says, I dreamed of you, when he saw him in the inn during episode 1. We will get some more Daeron the Drunken scenes with some more dragon dreams from him. Like the dragon dream that he actually had about Dunk is actually more elaborate, so he'll go on about that eventually in future episodes.
I dreamed of you.
Then this real crazy free-for-all battle scene here, battle royal happening inside the tourney grounds, is the actual Trial of 7. This is actually going to be episode 5. There'll be a lot more to unpack with the whole Trial of 7 and how they build up to that in future episodes, but that'll be beyond episode 2. There's a whole lot going on during this trailer, so if there's any Easter eggs or references that you spotted that I didn't talk about in the video, just write them below in the comments. My full episode 2 Easter eggs and breakdown video will post Sunday night after they release the episode, just like normal, so be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. Everybody click here for my full episode 1 video, and click here for all my other Night of the Seven Kingdoms episode videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.